Ex-burglars of Reddit. What things make people a target? What things deter burglars? I'm going to assume having a cop for a neighbor that parks his cruiser in the driveway facing my house is a nice burglar deterrent. One thing on Reddit I read was that having a pair of large work boots on the porch next to the door can deter burglars, unless they know you. It basically says someone is home right now. It's possibly a big dude who can hurt you. A recent study showed that burglars come back to the same houses quite often. They do this because of a number of motives. 1. They want to take things they, for some reason, couldn't take the first time. 2. They're kinda familiar with the house. 3. It's guaranteed that the people they robbed replace the stuff they stole the first time. Often these replacements are of better quality than the original, so after you get raided take good security measures. There was a guy hanging around my apartment complex for at least 5 hours claiming to have been waiting for someone. At night my husband went out to walk our dog and I was in the bathroom. He realized he didn't lock the door and remembered that guy. Turned back after only a minute and found the guy in the process of opening our door. My husband is 6'4" and my dog is a 65-pound bull terrier. My husband started yelling, but what I saw scare the shit out of him the most was my dog trying to take him down. Never saw that guy again. I stuck with commercial burglary. Residential burglary carried a risk of getting hit with a home invasion charge which increases your sentence if convicted. Not to mention, you run the risk of getting shot by some redneck with a spring-loaded magnum under every flat surface in the house. Anyway, I'd pick places based on the upkeep of their equipment. If the cash register was out of date, so was their camera system. If the clerk leaves the register open a crack while they're behind the counter, that means the safe is likely open in the back room. It also helps to hit the places that hire felons, fast food joints, video stores, etc. because the cops are gonna waste a lot of time looking into the staff members who have a criminal history. The closer they're looking at them, the better off I am. Of course, this was 15 years ago. Things change. Before I bought my house, I lived in a pretty itty neighborhood. We would hear gunshots on any given evening. One day, one of our neighbors who we had talked to many times before came up to me while I was mowing the lawn and asked if I'd seen anything. Apparently hers and several other houses in the neighborhood were broken into and robbed that previous night while she was at work. They pushed the air conditioning unit through the wall, crawled in and proceeded to take everything that wasn't nailed down. A few weeks later, another neighbor reported the same thing. Eventually, everyone in our neighborhood except us had been robbed. Our big difference was a few signs on our fence that said beware of dog. The dog in question was my wife's dachshund, but we occasionally had my friend's mastiff visit us. Dogs seem to be a decent deterrent according to the cops that came around asking questions. I'm not a burglar, but I worked for the largest security company in this country for half a decade. Burglar alarms do not deter burglars. They just alert you that you have been burglarized. Most of the time the police will take very little action in response due to the fact that 98% of burglar alarm activation constitute false alarms. The sign that comes with the alarm though, that thing is worth more than the alarm as far as deterring burglars. My job was to take reports from customers who had been burglarized. See my first point above. In all my time doing these interviews, and I never interviewed one single burglary victim who owned a medium-sized or large-sized dog. Not one single time. That is not to say that no one who owns a dog ever gets burglarized. I'm just saying that in 5 years of spending 8 hours a day interviewing people who had been, not one single time did I encounter the situation. I think there is at least some statistical validity in that. TL. Dr. A Big Duckin' Dog is the best burglary deterrent you can possibly have. Better than burglar alarms, signs, guns or expensive locks. Turn on exterior lights. Have an alarm sign in front yard. Alarm stickers on windows. Barking dog. I'd skip that house. Don't post anything on social media until you have gotten back home. I can't tell you how many neighbors and family have gotten robbed because of this. Listen to a KFI radio interview when I lived in Los Angeles. Former anonymous burglar said he avoided houses that hung the US flag, said it told him the occupants likely owned at least one firearm. Would avoid even if it looked as though no one was home. I would check out a house several times over 2 days. If there was no sign of movement, no lights coming on or off, no curtains moved, newspapers left on the driveway, I was interested. Is the house in a nice neighborhood? Is it well kept? If so, I figured they had nice stuff. Next question. Is there an easy escape route? Woods in the backyard were excellent. Next question. Is there a window hidden from view that I can smash if I have to? I only broke into a house once. It was my ex-girlfriend's place. She announced on Facebook she was out of the country for the weekend with her new lover. And I was still pissed she cheated on me a couple of weeks with that person earlier. So I decided to break some of her stuff. I had a duplicate key to her front door. And I know it sounds creepy as it looking back at it. But I had it made the day she mentioned she wanted the key back. So I got in there pretty easily. Once inside, I poured water into every single electronic device, laptop, TV, PlayStation, etc. I also fed the cat and gave the poor bastard a bowl of water since she forgot to do so. Then I left. Not a burglar, but a guy who is paranoid about keeping his it from being stolen. Buy a $3 blinking LED from eBay and install it on top of your car's dash. Especially a blue one as that screams fancy aftermarket alarm. Keeps the neighborhood 3 AM car hoppers away. Car hopping is basically what little Ted kids do. They walk around neighborhoods and apartment complex parking lots trying car door handles to see if any are unlocked so they can steal anything they can inside. Some are not above breaking into a locked vehicle if they spy a purse, backpack or something else theft worthy within sight. I've read that 3 AM is the optimal time to hit an apartment complex parking lot. Sorry, not a burglar, but I have some info to share. I used to live alone in a small bungalow in central Phoenix. My house was broken into twice while I was home and in the afternoon even. Both times, my dog alerted me by her low, guttural growl and then some loud, violent barks. I'd never heard anything like that out of a dog. She knew the difference between a visitor getting ready to knock and someone working on the door itself. Thank goodness for that fearless little bichon. I once owned a house that had been built in 1950 by a civil engineer who ended up with a debilitating condition which eventually created a situation requiring a wheelchair, and then eventually he was bedridden. He decided he needed to make sure he knew when someone was in the house. So he had a system installed which consisted of a bunch of small areas with wires beneath the carpet. There was a toggle switch on the wall near each area which they would switch on every night. And if walked on, a loud buzz would sound throughout the house. We couldn't figure out what the toggles were for but didn't worry too much about it. But when we pulled up the carpet and found the wires, my spouse started doing research and figured it out. If I detect the delicious scent of fried hamburger, I'm all over that place. You'd be surprised how often people get robbed by people they know or people connected to people they know. I can't believe no one has said a decent sized dog yet. A dog in the house is by far the #1 burglar deterrent. Unless you have something specific that the burglar is after, they will move on to the next house without a dog. Haven't seen anyone say a good burglar will rob you when it's raining. The rain mask sounds when you're breaking into a garage. I had my garage broken in during torrential rain. All tools stolen. Didn't hear a thing and either did my dog that sleeps outside. When I was young and dumb I would boost rims off cars. Cause you could make quick money and it was less than a felony. The #1 deterrent hands down, lights. If a place is lit up like a Christmas tree on the outside of a house you stay clear cause it means anyone can see you and see you clearly. Live in a suburb of a major city, like Chicago. Lights constantly on. Always the sound of chaos coming from inside. Order a dozen of pizzas and stuff one night to indicate that you're about to leave for a big trip. Make sure to not order enough cheese. Buzz. You ate all the cheese. Leave small weird creepy child in house by accident. Not a burglar, but when I drive to work in the evening when it is dark, I can't tell you how many big screen TVs I can see through large unshaded windows in people's homes. They are just advertising. I keep all my windows shaded. Also, I don't have any big screen TVs. I prefer smaller TVs that are closer to me, within a few feet, instead of a giant TV that is across the room. As a former burglar, I was always deterred by baggies of water hung around the premises. In the autobiography of Malcolm X, he said that if he went to a house and the bathroom light was on, he didn't go in. Said something like a guy in the bathroom could come out anytime. Our next door neighbor runs an in-home daycare, so there is literally always someone home. And when my dogs bark, her dog barks and we set off the whole neighborhood. Seriously, we have a 6-house warning when we get mail. I feel bad being another one of those I'm not actually one but people. But you know how some landscapers throw bags of rocks with a landscaping ad or business card in them? Guess what? Some of these are just burglars taking a bunch of pamphlets from a landscaping business, throwing these in your yard. They drive by a day or two later. Whoever didn't pick them up is a much more likely candidate, especially if there was no car in the driveway either time. I'm not answering the question directly, but I am answering it indirectly. The vast majority of burglaries are perpetrated by people who have been inside your home before. This is very important to realize. When you have guests over that you don't know well, maybe at a Halloween party, lock all of the doors to bedrooms, and don't have anything super valuable just laying out to show. Most of the time they won't take anything during the party, but they will come back later, with friends. Young Redditors may not have heard of this thing. It's called radio. Leave a talk station on when you're out. No burglar's gonna come in if he hears voices, unless it's a home invasion. Leave a light on. Doesn't matter if you put a timer on it or not. Just a low level light, like it's a night light for going to the bathroom in the middle of the night. A dog is another big plus. Hard for anyone to get past a dog in the dark. They don't need to see you to bark and bite you. I've never been burglarized, ever, and I'm 67 years old. That is all. I live in an area with a large homeless population, many which are drug addicts. Lots of smash and grab car burglaries. I can tell you this for certain. Theft is 99% visual, meaning if you've left something valuable within view, you're gonna lose it. And a value could even mean even an empty bag. Tweakers not gonna assume it's empty, they will take the chance, but at the same time dude's not gonna smash a window then take the time to start rummaging around hoping to find something of value. Too time consuming, especially after a large crash from your newly busted window. So hide your it. I have to assume that the 18 steps up from street level are at least some deterrent. We don't even get Jehovah's Witnesses. Don't leave the back door wide open. My mum woke up the other day to find that we had left the back door wide open all night by accident. No one came in, but still. A lot of burglars that break in through a window will throw a rock at the window and break it and then wait while hidden for about an hour. If nothing happens, then they go in. Don't leave anything around for a burglar to climb or move to help in entering your house. Get timers for your lights. Conveniently forget your mousetrap. Genius youngest son at home. Only leave tasty burgers around for any random burglars. When people proudly advertise their security system, you can usually find a forum of people who've found the latest ways to crack the system. Also, if they advertise being a gun owner without being a vet, I knew before I enlisted that veterans advertise their status and branch. That's a solid target. Usually kept in an outdated safe by an owner who hardly knew how to use it, let alone be able to control nerves from affecting things like trigger control or aligning their sights. You could always sell a gun for more cash as jewels or a laptop if you has the right connections. I never tried neighborhoods with an active watch. Usually meant any targets had a good relationship with the cops and any calls would be handled with a lot more care. Also, I'd never rob a place with a dog, especially a pit bull, Rottweiler or German Shepherd from the pound. Drug dealers were a natural target for home invasion if you had the confidence. Crowbar open the door and put the main occupant on their ass. Once they see you're not a junkie and have every intention to kill them if they don't listen to you, they usually give up solid cash and or flashy valuables you can pawn by going to a county an hour or two away. They can't really call the cops and draw attention to themselves.